Friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. Today we continue our 10 Flaws series. Well, not really. You see, you guys wanted me to do the next 10 Flaws video on the ATTE, or All-Terrain Tactical Enforcer. The problem is it's a walker, so it has a lot of the same issues that the ATTE does, and it also has some of the similar issues that the AAT does as well. So instead of looking at the 10 flaws of the ATTE, we're going to look at why I think it's one of the best armored vehicles in Star Wars. And just to keep things grounded, well, a best designed sci-fi vehicle is like being the smartest girl at a beauty pageant. All these tanks that we've talked about were first and foremost designed to look good and sell merchandise. The truth is, very few sci-fi franchises design things for function rather than form. The ATTE's design was inspired by the animal known as the Arctic horny whelmer. We couldn't find a picture of it, but I'm guessing it looks like the ATTE and is horny all the time, which is why it's interesting that the ATTE actually has a flexible midsection, which really serves no other purpose than allowing the ATTE to mount other ATTEs, or if they're more open-minded, an AAT or an ATAT, which is how baby ATTEs are created. Anyway, in order to attempt such feats, the ATTE must use its 6 stubby legs that could move the tank at an impressive speed of up to 60 kilometers per hour, faster than the AAT hover tank platform and around the same speed as the ATAT. The additional pair of legs in the midsection of the vehicle gives it extra balance, and meant that even if one leg or 2 legs were destroyed, the ATTE could still remain standing long enough for the crew and passengers to evacuate. The 6 legs of the ATTE carried quite a lot of weight. Not only was the ATTE fully armored, it also could carry anywhere from 20 to 38 troopers, depending on the model. And unlike the ATAT, they weren't 7 stories in the air and could easily deploy to the ground without specialized equipment. There was also a 7-man crew that piloted the vehicle, and even a medical droid for the wounded. Some specially modified ATTEs could also carry 2 all-terrain recon transports. Others had mobile command centers with full communication suites that could also be used to command a squad of ATTEs. Despite having all of this equipment on board, the ATTE still could be carried into battle by a specially modified low-altitude assault transport, greatly extending the range of the tank and the type of locations it could be deployed on. The ATAT had to be carried by a much larger Gazanti-class freighter, which was more expensive to operate and probably too large to land in certain areas. What really separated the ATTE from other armored vehicles in the Star Wars galaxy was not only its design, but also how it was incorporated in the Grand Army of the Republic's grand strategy. While the GAR was commanded by inexperienced Jedi commanders, the clone troopers had developed some very practical and useful tank doctrine and combined arms tactics. The ATTE was fully deployed with a platoon of clone troopers. It was one of the few battle tanks in the Star Wars galaxy that always was deployed with infantry units assigned to protect the vehicle's vulnerable flanks from other personnel. The ATTE's flexible main mass driver cannon also provided direct fire support, which could take out enemy tanks or fortified positions that the clone troopers were having difficulty with. Special recon troopers could also be deployed on all-terrain recon transports. These were 2-legged walkers that could move at a much faster speed of 75 kilometers per hour and were useful for flanking enemy positions and also scouting ahead. An ATTE was very much a self-contained fighting unit capable of handling a wide assortment of missions thanks to its flexibility and combined arms tactics. This helps negate a lot of the weaknesses that the ATTE had, including weaker armor and antiquated main cannon, proving that tactics are just as important as equipment design. If we look at real-world military units, the ATTE and its clone troopers aren't all that different from the Stryker armored fighting vehicles deployed by the US Army. It was usually deployed with light infantry units who had prior been using Humvees. Although the Stryker was not as heavily armored as a manned battle tank, it provided a great blend of mobility and protection against the type of threats our soldiers saw in the Middle East, including most importantly protection from IEDs and suicide vehicles. The Stryker was credited for saving hundreds of soldiers' lives. At the same time, the Stryker, like the ATTE, was a highly modular platform. It could be equipped for all different types of missions and purposes. It's kind of like the F-35 of the Army, which kind of makes sense because every military branch is right now seeking to consolidate and make their maintenance and logistic chains more efficient. It was also equipped with enough rations munitions to keep itself going in a fight for over 3 weeks. This included providing for its crew and the passengers. This meant that the ATTE didn't have to depend on traditional logistic chains and could be deployed in remote areas or even behind enemy lines in force. This meant no vulnerable supply depots or ammunition depots for the enemy to attack. So in many ways, the ATTE could be used as a quick reaction strike force. You can probably see by now that the ATTE is a bit over-engineered, and one of the reasons why it was designed this way was because it was initially created for patrolling remote mining colonies and asteroids. These vehicles were designed not only to keep security forces safe, but allow them to function without additional support for long periods of time. Along with the rations and ammunition, the ATTE also had enough air to last the entire crew and the passengers up to 3 weeks. This was important because some mining colonies weren't even located on planets with atmospheres. The pressurized hull of the ATTE meant that the JAR could deploy this vehicle in inhospitable environments, and also it protected the clone troopers from gas and chemical attacks. Along with the pressurized hull, the ATTE also had magnetized feet, which allowed the ATTE to clamp down for additional traction. This was extremely useful when the ATTE was serving as an artillery platform. It gave the gun more stability and accuracy. The ATTE could also use these magnetic feet to scale over terrain that would be otherwise impossible for other types of walkers. With this design, this walker could even lock onto the hull of a capital ship or asteroid to provide additional firepower for a fleet. Although this walker was never really intended to be used in space, some more creative Republic commanders have used them to great effect in zero gravity, to the surprise of their enemies.
Forward cannon, let him have it.
The ATTE is a walker that truly has all-terrain capability, unlike the AT-AT or crossovers like the Honda CR-V. Now, one of the major problems with Star Wars battle tanks, especially the AAT and the AT-AT, is that they have a lot of blind spots which can be exploited by infantry. This made both of these vehicles incredibly vulnerable when they weren't deployed with their own infantry support. The ATTE was not only deployed with a full platoon, it also had 6 anti-personnel laser cannon turrets, 4 of which were positioned in front of the vehicle, 2 low, 2 high, along with 2 more in the rear. This is another over-designed feature of the ATTE and gives the vehicle ample coverage both in the front of the vehicle and in the back, but it does leave the flanks still uncovered. Another great part about this system was that all the gunners are operating these lasers using cameras from within the safe confines of the vehicle. The main cannon turret has an exposed operator position, probably so that the gunner can actually see what he's trying to shoot. But that's a bit strange because the ATTE actually has a designated spotter position. This clone uses a periscope and an assortment of scanners to determine enemy location and how effective the main cannon's fire is. So while having your gunner seated outside the vehicle with a clear line of sight does allow them to better see where they are shooting at, it's kind of an unnecessary risk, especially if you're fighting in vacuum. The spotter can perform these duties and also coordinate with the driver and the commander and the other gunners. The spotter can also warn the gunners about incoming armor or ground personnel who are attempting to attack or sneak up to the ATTE. This is another over-designed feature of the ATTE because usually a commander also acts as a spotter for a tank crew. But a designated spotter does keep the commander free to react to combat situations and coordinate the complicated systems on this fighting machine. For some reason, most Separatist droids didn't have advanced shielding from EMP and ion weapons, which is what made these weapons extremely efficient in fighting against the Separatists. The EMPs didn't do damage to organics, and even better, the ATTE had an electromagnetic protection system which could block ion damage to the tank's crucial systems. So from what we can tell, the ATTE is actually not a main battle tank. Its main gun, while large, lacked the power to officially take out enemy tanks, and its armor was severely lacking. Even though it's a lower profile walker than the AT-AT, the ATTE was still relatively slow, whether it's carrying out an assault or moving troops from point A to point B. But it's the way that the GAR and clone troopers deployed these vehicles that really makes it stand out. As an infantry fighting vehicle, the ATTE had no equal. Combined with a design that allowed it to operate in a variety of environments and able to sustain its crew for an extended period of time, this was a cost-efficient and reliable design that allowed the JAR to successfully hold off a much larger Separatist droid army. Well guys, that is our video for today. It's a nice change of pace for me to finally say something nice about something in Star Wars. You know, there's a part of me that just is really analytical and I love breaking down the flaws in some of the designs in these vehicles. Obviously, I love a lot of them. I love the ATTE, I like the AAT. Not a huge fan of the walker. But anyway guys, let me know in the comments section below which one of these tanks that we've covered so far is your favorite. Also, let me know what else you want to see in this series. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that notification button so you don't miss out on the rest of our awesome content. As usual, thanks for joining us today. If you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.